Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
It just tried to transcribe the words as I was talking, and it made a complete mess of it because it was all Sanskrit. So I just turned it off.
Yeah, yeah. And
I turned off that.
it might take your bandwidth as well. I mean, it's convert. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, no, I just turned it off because it made a complete
Yeah.
mess of Lord Chaitanya and his associates. It scrambled all the
That's
words. It won't have any chance at Bengali and Sanskrit, I'm sure.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. AI
Okay,
is
so we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya-lila, chapter 19, entitled "The Lord Instructs Srila Rupa Goswami." I think we're around text 196,
yeah,
somewhere around
is
there. Is that right?
yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
While we're working that out, we can just recap a bit on last week's one, whenever it was, the week before.
Yeah, I think yeah. Well, I remember. Okay, talking about that one, 91, and then chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, God is fortune, innumerable. Yeah, I think you're right.
So we've been hearing about the five main rasas with different examples of different devotees and the Shanta ras and Sakya ras and uh, Vatsalya Madhurya ras, different examples. And then it talks about there's two different kinds of attachment, rati, and so attachment with awe and reverence, which is called Aishvarya Jnana Mishra.
Mm,
And then attachment without that awe and reverence, which is just pure attachment, which is called Kevala. So
mm,
Kevala, just basically pure love without, there's no cause. There's no, I love Krishna, I love God because, I love Krishna because he's God, because he's powerful and he controls everything. Now there's no cause for that love. It's
mm.
not that the devotees in Vrindavan love Krishna because he's God, because he's powerful or anything like that. They just have pure love for him. And it's mentioned, and then it's given examples of where those two kind of attachments are found. So that where is that, if you can remember, where is that Kevala Rati found? Which place?
That was Gopi. The prime example is Gopi, where they don't, yeah, that's
Not just the gopis, but there's a particular place. Where?
in
Where can that? What's that?
oh no, no, it's the Vrindavan.
Yeah, Vrindavan. So
Vrindavan.
yeah, and Vrindavan. So, when Krishna came to Vrindavan on this earth,
Oh
you
yeah.
could see it there. You could see it there. And also in the Vrindavan in the spiritual world, you can see it there. And then where is the Jnana Mishra, um, Aishvarya Jnana Mishra, that with awe and reverence, that rati, where is that found?
Mathura, I think one of them, and the other
Yep,
one,
Mathura, Dwarka.
Dwarka. Yeah, okay.
Yep, Dwarka, and then Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha. Yep, that's where you'll find that. So there, in those places, Dwarka, Mathura, and Vaikuntha, they have attachment for Krishna, but with that knowledge, they have the knowledge of his opulence and his power. They know that he's God. They know that he's God. And then the next verse, 194, says that if you have that attachment for Krishna with that knowledge of his opulence, that cripples it. That cripples it means it's not as strong. That rati, that attachment, is not as strong as the attachment without that knowledge of his opulence. So it's saying here basically that's better. It's better to have attachment for Krishna without that knowledge of his opulence, like that. And
So does that
and
mean
then
there are more chances that you will really, I mean, because they say you won't fall once you move up into the spiritual world, but there is a chance that you could fall because
no, no. Diamond's asking, is there more chance of falling down from that position of Vaikuntha? No, no, I haven't heard that mentioned anywhere.
Eh,
There's
To
not.
me,
They're satisfied, even though the attachment is not as strong, but they're still satisfied. They're satisfied having that dasya ras, where they're the servant and Narayan is the master, because that's what it is in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, there's only one rasa, that everyone is the servant, and then Narayan is the master, Lakshmi Narayan. So they're the master, and everyone else is a servant. So that's in Vaikuntha. You've just got that dasya rasa, but they're satisfied with that. So it's with awe and reverence. They have knowledge that he's God, Narayan is God, and that they're the servant, but they're satisfied with that. It's not that they may fall down from that just because the attachment is not as great as in Vrindavan. Hmm.
then you would go into the Vaikuntha planet. But Dasya Ras is never in Goloka Vrindavan, is it?
Um,
right? I mean,
she's asking is Dasyaras and Vrindavan.
they have.
You don't really hear about it in Vrindavan. No, no, not in Vrindavan. Dasyaras is outside Vrindavan. It's in Mathura and Dwarka. You've got it in there. Like it was mentioned, gave that example of Daruka, Krishna's chariot driver. So that was in Dwarka. He's the chariot driver in Dwarka. So and of course Arjuna, yeah, Arjuna's Krishna's friend. So there is yeah, Krishna's friend Sakyaras. So there is some Sakyaras in
But there is an
in
interest.
Dwarka.
There is an interesting thing where once I think in it's in Bhagavad Gita itself says when he knows that Krishna is actually, before that, uh, he knew that Krishna was his friend. So he was sitting with him, eating with him. There's some kind of
Yeah,
explanation there. And then he
11th
was
yeah,
reading. And then he said, oh, I've been doing, I didn't know you. And then once he knew it, he was like, he said something like, maybe I crossed the line or something. He said so. He was really in awe and reverence. Then
yes,
that
yes,
distance was created, I think, at that point of
created.
time.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
before that, he was his friend. He was his,
yeah,
relative or
yeah,
cousin, whatever. So he
yeah,
was very close. So it's that
yeah,
was an example comes to my mind that at that
yeah.
point he was like awe comes in his, the awe and reverence, the
Yeah,
distance.
yeah. Yeah, and you can see that crippled the relationship.
Yeah.
That crippled the relationship. And then after that, Krishna would arrange that knowledge that Arjuna had got taken away. So
Taken.
that's Yoga Maya. Come because
Mhm.
Krishna doesn't want that. Krishna doesn't want that devotee that has that higher attachment, pure love, get that reduced by that knowledge. So then Krishna will remove that.
Mm.
But yeah, for that short time and that Vishvarupa chapter, when he saw the universal form, that knowledge of his great power and opulence, that you could see that crippled his
Mm.
his friendly relationship with Krishna.
Dwarka, Mathura also on the outer petals of that Goloka Vrindavan, like it's described as a lotus, right?
Mm.
So then wouldn't that mean that those places are also in Goloka Vrindavan?
They are. They are.
They are.
There is
So, but
so
then
that within that topmost planet, Goloka Vrindavan, there's different segments, sections. So there's Vrindavan, and then there's Mathura, there's Dwarka, and I've also heard it mentioned there's Navadvip. So Lord Chaitanya is also doing pastimes eternally with his associates in that topmost planet in Vaikuntha, Goloka Vrindavan. So yeah, but in those different areas, there'll be different kinds of devotees. Different kinds of devotees there.
so then that means that awe and reverence feeling is there in those planets as
Yeah.
well.
Well, no, in that top planet, but in different sections.
Not in Goloka Vrindavan.
No, in Goloka Vrindavan, but in Dwarka and Mathura, there'll be some of that awe and reverence, and in Vrindavan, there won't be. It'll just be
But the
Kevala.
whole thing is called Goloka Vrindavan.
Yeah, the whole place is called Goloka. Yeah.
Goloka, yeah.
Yeah, Goloka.
So, okay, so the question then is, because our mood, like this is like in the Gaudiya Vaishnava, this thing, the whole uh, teaching is about Dasya Ras, right? Because we are aiming to be servants of the servants of Krishna. Okay, so in that case, our ultimate destination will never be.
No,
I mean, it would
Sounds
just be
good. No.
Vaikuntha.
no, no. We talked about that last time. So is that a bad thing that our whole process is with knowledge of that Aishvarya Gyan, that we're taught that we're the servant, Krishna is the master. So is that inferior process that we're given all this knowledge and there will be awe and reverence? Actually, no, there's nothing wrong with that. We need that because now we've fallen into ignorance, into Maya. We've forgotten that we're the soul. We've forgotten our relationship with Krishna as the Supreme Soul. So we need that knowledge to get ourself out of Maya. However, once we get out of Maya and once we re-establish that relationship that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we progress in bhakti through Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, so forth, then when that loving relationship's revived, then eventually when we're purified enough and there's no more tamagun, there's no more rajagun, there's no more kam, lobha, krodha, matsarya, all the rubbish is removed from the heart, then that pure love can be revealed. And when that pure love is revealed, then we can eventually come into that position of Kevala, that Kevala Rati or Kevala Bhakti. Then that can be there. So although in one sense what we're doing now is inferior, but however, it is the way to get to the pure love. But the goal is not to always have this Aishvarya Gyan. We're using the Aishvarya Gyan to get to the Kevala, but the goal is that Kevala Bhakti. Our goal is not Gyan. See, and that's what the difference, like for the Gyanis, the Gyani yogis, that's what their goal is, Gyan. But our goal is actually not Gyan. Our goal is Prema. Our goal is that Kevala Prema, that Kevala Bhakti. But to get there, we need Gyan. But for the Gyani yogis, that's what they think that's the goal. The goal is Gyan. Their goal is not Prema, but we have a different goal. But to achieve that goal, we need to get rid of the tamagun. The ignorance is what's in our way. So we need Gyan to remove that. Actually, it's said that there's two main limbs of bhakti, or they're also called, you could say, the like children of bhakti. So there's jnana and vairagya. knowledge and detachment, jnana and vairagya. But they themselves are not the goal. Our goal is not to be a jnani. Our goal is not to be a vairagi, detached. Our goal is the bhakti. And if you have bhakti, automatically you'll have jnana and vairagya. But they themselves are not our purpose, is to just be jnanis and vairagis. But they're automatically will be there. Does that make sense? Mm. But eventually, like I said, then in the spiritual world, then Yoga Maya makes you forget that Krishna's God, and you just love him without even knowledge that he's God. And then it's mentioned in text 195. See, on this, in that rasa of Shantaras and Dasyaras, then opulence, this Aishvarya, is more prominent. So like in Vaikuntha, then, Lakshmi Narayana are in great opulence there. They're like king and queen, they have all the ornaments and everything like that. And they're in palaces with gold and jewels and everything around them and everything like that. So there's a lot of, that's what's prominent there is the opulence in Vaikuntha and then in Dwarka and Mathura. Krishna's a king. In Dwarka and Mathura, he's like a king like that, and he's always so much opulence. But in the transcendental mellows of fraternal, parental, and conjugal love, the opulence is minimized. So then if you go to Vrindavan, there's hardly any of that opulence. There is actually opulence there, but you don't notice it. It's more sweetness. So, Krishna's got flowers in his hair and garlands and everything like that, and he's got some butter in his left hand. So everything's just very sweet. And there's cows and peacocks and everything like that. And that there's no emphasis there of like big palaces and gold and jewels and everything. That is there. It's said that Vrindavan is made of jewels. But that's not what's in the devotee's attention. It's not in the devotee's attention as, wow, look at that house made of jewels. No one's excited about the house made of jewels. Everyone's excited about, look how beautiful Krishna is. He's just so attractive. Krishna looks so attractive with, his hand wrapped around his friends' necks, and, he's embracing Radharani and the gopis, and he's playing with the cows, and no one gives a stuff about the opulence in Vrindavan. Everyone's just attracted to how wonderful Krishna is. But in other places, yeah, that you do notice that. In other places, they do notice the beautiful palaces and the gold and the jewels and everything like that. So that's what it means there in 195. So in those places like Vaikuntha, there's more of a consciousness of how opulent the Lord is. He's surrounded by opulence and everything. Whereas in Vrindavan, when you're in that, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya rasa, then you don't even notice the opulence, even though it may be there. You just focused on just how wonderful Krishna is, how sweet his pastimes are, how beautiful he is, like that. So that's minimized there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we can read 196. Vasudeva, Devakira, Krishna Charana, Vandila, Aishvarya Gyane, Dunhara, Mani Baya Haila.
Vasudeva Devakira Krishna Charan Vantila Aishwarya Gyane Dhunahara Manubhai Vela. When Krishna offered prayers at the lotus feet of his mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, they both felt awe, reverence, and fear due to knowledge of his opulence.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So this is referring to a particular pastime in Krishna's Leela, where after Krishna had killed Kamsa in Mathura, then he offered prayers to his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki. So it's saying here that at that time, they both felt awe and reverence and fear due to knowledge of his opulences. So here's another one. It's mentioned that this Aishvarya is this knowledge of his opulences, and that it brings about a feeling of awe and reverence. But here, a third emotion is told to us, that it also brings about a feeling of fear. So, and we see that in many religions. In Christianity, it's there, and in Muslim, it's there. That people are afraid of God, isn't it? Because he's so powerful. And if you don't do what you're told, what might happen?
Yeah,
That he might punish. It's that idea, right? That idea is there that, if you don't follow the commandments or whatever like that of Jehovah Allah or whatever, then he might throw fire and brimstone or send you to hell or something like that. So then fear is there. So sometimes if you're in front of someone that's very great and powerful, there might be a feeling of fear there, that God is so great, I'm so small, if I step out of line, he might squash me, sort of thing. So that knowledge of his great power and opulence can bring about, as well as awe and reverence, some fear as well. So it's mentioned that Vasudeva and Devaki felt some of that. And obviously, they've just seen this little boy, Krishna, just squash Kamsa. Kamsa was seated on a throne. This was in a wrestling arena. So Kamsa had organized a great wrestling match, and there was a wrestling arena. And he was seated up on a very high dais, means a very high platform with a throne and everything. And he was surrounded by his guards and everything like that, and ministers and everything. This is mentioned in Krishna book in the 10th canto, Bhagavatam. And then Krishna, after he killed Kamsa's powerful wrestlers, like Chanura, Mustika, and others, Shala, Krishna and Balaram had just annihilated these wrestlers one by one. So even that would have brought about awe and reverence, because these wrestlers, it said, were as strong as 10,000 elephants. They were superhuman, powerful wrestlers. And even though Krishna and Balaram looked small and everything in comparison to the wrestlers, they completely pummeled them. And then after that, Krishna jumps up in the air onto the platform Kamsa was on, grabbed him by the hair, and pulled him down back on the ground, then straddled his chest. That means when he was on the ground, Krishna sat on his chest, sat on his body, and then he just pounded him with his arms until he died. And then he got him by the hair again and just dragged him around the ground, just dragged him around like that. So you can imagine, Vasudeva and Devaki seeing their child do that. And be aware, Kamsa was so powerful, even Varuna, Surya were afraid of him. It said that when Kamsa would just pull his bowstring and let it go, that noise would make the demigods basically run away in fear. He was just so powerful. He was actually an incarnation of, well, not really incarnation, but in his previous life, he was a great Asura named Kalanimi. Kamsa in his previous life was a great Asura named Kalanimi who had taken birth as Kamsa. And yeah, he was, he was so powerful that all the demigods were afraid. And then they're just watching their son just annihilate him like so easily. So you can imagine they would have, been thinking, oh my God, he's like so powerful. some fear was there, awe and reverence was there and everything. And then after he killed Kamsa, then he offers prayers to his mum and dad like that. So they were definitely realizing that he's not just my son at that point, that he's actually God, and has taken birth like our son like that. And then it mentions in the next verse, which we can read from the Bhagavatam, that they didn't even embrace him. Because normally, imagine if your son had passed through some very traumatic experience, you would just go up and naturally hug the child. You would go and hug your son. But in this case, they didn't even go up and hug their son because they just realized he's not my son, he's God. He's not actually my son, he's God, so mm. So yeah, that really has crippled the love because they can't even get close to him enough to give him a hug. So what happened to that intimate, loving relationship? Like normally a mother and father and a child have that intimate, loving relationship, but that's been crippled by that knowledge that, oh my God, this is God here. This is the Supreme Person of Godhead, Bhagavan. It's not just our son. But yeah, that's really crippled that intimate, loving, relationship like that. And they'll be standing there like this, with hands folded, and like that. And the thing is, that's even more confusing is that Krishna's offering prayers at this point after killing Kamsa. He's offering prayers to his mother and father, just like he was their child. Because a child will offer prayers to the mother and father, offer respect, like offer obeisances and respect and prayers. It's not that if Krishna was acting as God at that point, he wouldn't be offering prayers, right? Does God offer prayers to his parents? No. To his devotees? No. But so he's at this point, Krishna's acting like their child, and the child is offering prayers to his parents. But they're so bewildered. They've just seen what he did, and they know he's not just their child. He's acting like a child by offering prayers, but so yeah, they're really confused, like that. So there's a lot going on in them. There's a lot of awe and reverence and fear and everything. And Krishna's just offering prayers to his mother and father, like that. So it's really Krishna's really playing with them. Krishna, because at this point he's offering prayers. He's not acting like God. He's acting like their child. You get what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's. I'm just wondering. I mean, once they were in Kevala Bhav, and then now Krishna did something which is extraordinary, nobody can do, and then they realize, oh, he is God, and then they are back to that, Ashwarya and Gyan thing. They're like, so it's basically whatever Krishna wants them at whatever level he's
That's right.
actually.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens after that. The relationship was Kevala relationship. He might have, make them forget things, or did it change, or did it came back to Kevala? That's interesting point.
It does go in and out. It does go in and out because after this happened, and then actually there was Krishna had so many enemies. Krishna had so many enemies. Like Krishna, he's just taken out Kamsa, and Kamsa had a friend named Jarasandha. And Jarasandha was extremely powerful king. He was also as strong as 10,000 elephants. And he was actually born in two parts, but he was put together by a witch named Jara. That's why he was known as Jarasandha. Sanda means joined together. Sanda means joined together. So joined by Jara. So he was found in two pieces, and this witch Jara joined him together. So he's known as Jarasandha. And then he was so powerful, and he had two daughters named, I can't remember their names, but anyway, his two daughters
We're married to Kamsa.
We're married to Kamsa. We're married to Kamsa. So then Krishna's gone and killed Kamsa. So his two daughters come back to the father, obviously crying, Krishna's just killed my husband, like that. So Jarasandha was the mortal enemy of Krishna. He's just killed his son-in-law. Krishna's just taken out his son-in-law. So Jarasandha was attacking Mathura with his great armies. He had so many Okshahini divisions of soldiers, and he attacked Mathura many times. Every time Krishna and Balaram repelled him, but it got too troublesome, being in Mathura, keeping the Yadu dynasty in Mathura. And then finally, another great demoniac king named Kaliyavana attacked Mathura from a different direction at the same time as Jarasandha, and he had 10 million Yavana soldiers. So at that time, Krishna said, this is just too much. We're always getting attacked. So he created that island fortress of Dwarka. And then while they were sleeping, he shifted the whole Yadu dynasty from Mathura to Dwarka while they were asleep. And they just woke up in their new place, Dwarka. So at that time, Devaki and Vasudeva, who had missed out on Krishna's childhood. They had missed out because Krishna was in Vrindavan, right? And they were in prison. Kamsa had Devaki and Vasudeva in prison, and Krishna was in Vrindavan with Nanda and Yashoda. But Devaki and Vasudeva missed out on Krishna's whole childhood. And as you know, a very important part of the childhood for the parents, a duty for the parents when the children are kids is to educate the kids. So they had missed out on educating Krishna. So now they wanted to catch up on that. So they sent Krishna to Gurukul, So he went to Sandapani Muni, and what was that place? What was that place? Where's the Sandapani Muni from? ISKCON has a temple there. You know what I mean, right? It was Bhakti True Swami's place, their big temple.
Ujjain.
Ujjain. So that Devaki and Vasudeva sent Krishna to Ujjain, to where Sandapani Muni had a Gurukul, and they got all trained up there in all the Vedic arts and sciences like that. 64 arts and sciences, but they were such brilliant students because they're God that they learned it in 64 days. So every one day they would learn one thing. So their whole education was finished in 64 days because they were so good. But you can see, so they had a little bit of the Kevala there, because at that point, obviously, they're not treating him like God. Like, why do we need to send God to school? I mean, God knows everything, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the opulences of God, that he knows everything. So obviously they had a little bit of Kevala come back after Kamsa was killed, because otherwise, why would they send him to school? They were thinking, he's my child. He's ignorant. He needs some knowledge. We know our children are ignorant, so we send them to school. If they were already enlightened, why would we send them to school like that? So we're not thinking that, so does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I remember one more. I think you told us when he opened his mouth or something, she wanted to look whether you have eaten something or something.
That's Yashoda.
Yeah.
That's Yashoda and Vrindavan.
Saw that, and then I think he told that he made him forget that thing. So it's like he's playing
Yes.
with kids.
Yeah. Straight after she saw the universes in his mouth, then she went back to her motherly affection, said, okay, don't do it again. Don't eat dirt again, So Krishna didn't want that awe and reverence and fear to come into her, to her mind. So he covered over that pastime of her, seeing all the universes in his mouth and that. So just momentarily, she was affected by that confusion, due to some idea that he might be God. And then that was immediately forgotten again.
But would you say that that dasya or the servant or master relationship is the true relationship? The other relationships are his leelas to teach us. I don't know. I mean, so that's core
That's an
relationship.
interesting point. Yep, interesting point. So then, and there's another verse in Caitanya that says, whether one is, how does it present it? Guru sama lagu ke. Guru sama lagu ke. And then it says something dasya bhava. So what that means is guru means superior, like a parent, right? Parent is superior. Guru sama, sama means equal, so friend, or lagu ke means inferior, right? Lagu, like there's a lagu brihat bhagavatamrita, which means smaller, junior,
Oh, yeah,
like that. Yeah, lagu. So lagu means junior, inferior. So guru means superior, sama equal, lagu inferior. But it says whether one is superior, equal, or inferior to Krishna, but all of them have dasya bhava. So even your Krishna's parent, but your mood, what's your mood? You have a superior position, but what's your mood? You want to serve Krishna. That's the whole reason why you don't, in the spiritual world, become the child of God, the child of Krishna, because then Krishna would be serving us. We would be taking the service. You become the parent of Krishna because the parent does the work. The parent does the service. So it doesn't matter what your position is, but you want to serve. That's why you're the parent in the first place. So even though in one sense you're superior, but you have a desire, a mood to serve. So if you're Krishna's friend, which means equal, sama, like Arjuna, but you want to serve Krishna. You know, it doesn't matter what you, if you're Krishna's lover, you want to serve Krishna. You know, and if you do have an inferior position, like, you know, Daruka, you still want to serve Krishna. So everybody, whatever your position, whether you're superior, equal, junior, everybody wants to serve Krishna. So that mood of service, it goes throughout every devotee. There's no difference in that mood of service. The only difference is how are you going to serve? You'd like to serve as a parent, you'd like to serve as a lover, you'd like to serve as a friend, you'd like to serve as a servant. You know, so there's just different ways of serving, but it's all service.
But it can also be seen as all service is equal, right?
From Krishna's point of view.
Yeah. So then we can't say that being a charioteer is a lower service.
Correct. So that's a good point, that just because you're a junior, that it's not that service is inferior, that if you're a guru, like that's superior. From Krishna's point of view, he equally appreciates, you know, all services. If you're cleaning the floor in the spiritual world, or if you're the, you know, big shot or whatever like that, then Krishna appreciates everything, because the main qualities there is that rati, that kevala, that as long as you have that pure love, then Krishna enjoys that. You know, and that's just expressing in different ways. You know, the cow has pure love for Krishna. The peacock has pure love. You know, Mother Yashoda has pure love. You know, the gopis have pure love. So Krishna's enjoying all of that. So it's not that, oh, the gopi is more important than the cow. No, they're all on an equal platform, you know, of having that pure love. And that's real equality. We talk about equality in the material world, but there's no real equality here. The real equality is on that platform of pure love. You know, that's real equality. Okay, we can read that one. That Sanskrit one. Devaki Vasudevascha Vijnanaya Jagadishvaro Krita Samvandano Putro Shasvajate Nashantito.
Okay. Devaki Vasudevascha Vijnanay Jagat Ishwarau Krit Samavandana Putrau Sasvajatena Sankitau. When Devaki and Vasudev understood that their sons Krishna and Balram, who had paid obeisances to them, were Supreme Personality of Godhead, they became fearful and did not embrace them.
Mm. So very contradictory behavior. There's God in front of you and he's bowing down to you. So it's completely bewildering. But they were so afraid they'd just seen them act like God that they didn't want to embrace them.
Hmm.
Mm.
I think you already explained that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's said in the purport there that they wanted to. They wanted to, both the mother and father and mother wanted to embrace their sons, but they understood that Krishna and Balaram were the Supreme Person of Godhead, and they therefore hesitated to embrace them. Their parental love for Krishna and Balaram was therefore hampered and decreased by awe and reverence. So this is given here as an example how
Mm.
that knowledge of Krishna's position as God it hampers and decreases that love, that parental love got reduced by that knowledge of Krishna's position as God. So this is given here as an example of how the knowledge can reduce the parental, whatever the relationship is, the love. Mm. Okay. 198. Krishnera Vishva Rupa Deki Arjunera Hoilabaya Sakya Bhave Sakya Bhave Dharshya Shamapaya Kariya Vinaya.
When Krishna manifested his universal form, Arjuna
Mm,
became reverent and fearful, and
mm,
he begged forgiveness for his past impudence toward
mm,
Krishna, the friend.
mm. So this is
He
what
had
you were referring to, yeah. And then it's giving those verses from the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Mm. You can read that. The next ones,
okay.
199 200.
Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometime alone and sometime in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses.
Mm. So sweet. But Krishna enjoys that so much. And that's why, like I said, why Krishna takes away that knowledge. He likes to have that very sweet, intimate relationship with his devotees. If you only had those relationships of awe and reverence, it'd be pretty boring. It's not very, like we have that like at work, right? You have your boss to say, "Oh, excuse me, sir." You wouldn't say, to your boss, "Hey, Fred, how's it going, Fred?" You say, "Sir," and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's very,
Nowadays, it's not like that.
I know, but it's not normal.
But yeah, in India,
Normally
they
there's some
wear,
formality there.
yeah, but here and all, there's not. You
You know,
just
now add G, right? G is with respect. They'll
no,
say,
no. But here, I'm saying in New Zealand, that's
yeah,
not that concept anyway. I mean, even in India, to some extent, it's changed. But even
yeah,
in New Zealand,
yeah.
I always called. I mean, there was no sir and all that.
I know,
Even
but
Yeah,
Kevin's
traditionally,
probably not doing
yeah,
that
that's it
either.
too. I mean, we don't, say sir and everything.
Yeah, that's all old,
But
old.
yeah, either it's my or name, usually name, because
Yeah, just
yeah.
name. But you are
name.
right. I
But
mean,
yeah,
there is still.
traditionally it is more formal, like a business relationship.
Yeah.
There's more formality there.
I mean, there's still some formality in certain discussions. It
Hmm.
will be there, obviously, because if somebody's your boss. Yeah.
You know, like they're not going to call out to, President Trump, hey, Donald, how's it going, Donald? Say, Mr. President, so
Or
they will
like,
use
say
some.
that.
Hey,
Was he
Donald.
Hey, Don.
Hey, Don, how's it going, Don? No, they
yeah,
say, Mr. President, like that. So there is some title, giving respect and everything. So, but what do we enjoy more? Do we enjoy the business relationships more, or we enjoy the home relationships more? The home relationships more. We all look forward to coming home, because at work it's, very formal and everything. But at home it's very sweet. And as soon as you come in the door, your kid comes running up and gives you a hug and everything and say, hey, Dad, how's it going? And like that, your wife gives you a kiss on the cheek or whatever, so it's much more pleasurable, though, very sweet, more sweeter. So that's why Krishna arranges that he likes to have those very sweet relationships without all that, knowledge that he's the big boss and everything like that. And, it gets a bit dry like that. So, mm. But yeah, here Arjuna's feeling very embarrassed that he treated Krishna's just so intimately. Mm. How fortunate Arjuna was, Like they're relaxing together on the same beds, eating together. What a fortunate position Arjuna to have such an intimate relationship with Krishna is so special. Okay. Krishna Yadi Rukmini Re Kaila Parihasa Krishna Charibena Jani Rukmini Ra Haila Trasa.
although Krishna was joking with Queen Rukmini, she was thinking that he was going to give up her company, and she was therefore shocked.
Mm. So this is a very wonderful pastime in Krishna Lila in the 10th canto also. And they're giving the verse from the 10th canto, and the next one is give more details. Where where Krishna was playing a joke with Rukmini, and he spoke in such a way that he minimized um, his position as her husband, saying that he wasn't good enough for her. He was saying so many things that you would have been better if you'd married Shishupal. He would have been a good husband for you. And, I'm a bit of a vagabond, like that. I don't, I'm not very reliable. And, I had many girlfriends in Vrindavan. I just left them. So also, I might leave you and like that. And there's so many ways he was joking with her. And she got the idea that maybe Krishna was going to leave her. And then she was so distressed that all the ornaments fell off her body, her bangles fell off her arm, and the flowers fell out of her hair, and then she just fainted. She took it seriously that Krishna was serious, and she fell on the ground. And then Krishna caught her and brought her back to consciousness, and then he was just saying, look, I was just joking, like that. So they had this very sweet pastime, very sweet pastime. Okay, so let's read the next one. You can just read the English.
While Krishna was joking with Rukmani in Dwarka, she was full of distress, fear, and lamentation. She had also lost her intelligence. She dropped her hand bangles and the fan she was using to fan the Lord. Her hair became disarrayed, and she fainted and fell suddenly, appearing like a banana tree knocked down by high winds.
It's a high wind banana tree.
Yeah. So
Is
we've
that
experienced this here, that the high winds knock down banana trees. So she fell down just like a banana tree knocked by the wind. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
I was looking
So here
some
is talking about, obviously this is the Madhurya rasa, the Sringara rasa, conjugal love, and she's just seeing Krishna as her husband. She's not seeing him as God. She just has that very intimate, Kevala kind of relationship, and just so attached to Krishna as her husband, and just devastating for her, the thought that he might leave her, made her so unhappy, and then she just fell down on the ground like that. Mm.
but here, I mean, she's not. She didn't have any kind of awe or reverence. It's kind of a different, isn't it? In this, it's not example of that very that she was in Kevala and then she was suddenly. It's kind of a different to me appears. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is mainly, I think she's in Kevala
Mm.
with,
It's just
yeah,
the loss. I mean, the fear of um, getting away from Krishna, getting away from her. That's what distressed her. But it doesn't. Yeah, yeah. The example is just Kevala. I think. Yeah, it's just more.
mm,
It doesn't. Yeah, or I don't understand. Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, it's more Kevala rather than anything.
mm. Yeah, it seems like this is more Kevala than with Gyan or anything like that.
Which verse is 1991?
Huh?
Where are you?
This is
200.
202, 201, 202.
Again, the purport is very interesting. I think, let me read them. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam, refers to Krishna speaking to Rukmani in his bedroom.
Yeah.
Just to test her sincerity, he
Mm.
began to joke with her, presenting himself as poor, incapable, unfit to be her lover. Not understanding that he was joking, Rukmani took him seriously and thought that he wanted to leave her company. And this misunderstanding made her very unhappy, and her whole body was affected. Her fan and bangles fell to the floor, and she also fell down like banana tree knocked down by the high. Okay, but
Mm.
yeah, still.
But you know what? A few verses before, it was actually talking about um this Madhurya Rasa, and then it was giving the example of um the Lakshmis in Vaikunta are in Madhurya Rasa. But how come if they are supposed to be in awe and reverence, then how they are in Vaikunta? See, I'll tell you which verse I
Yeah,
just saw
because
it
you have all the five rasas,
everywhere.
but with awe and reverence, or without, just pure. So you've got the rasas, right? Your five rasas,
Mm.
and then you've got two kinds of attachment: attachment with knowledge and attachment without knowledge, just pure Kevala. So you can have Madhurya rasa with awe and reverence, Gyan, Aishvarya, or Kevala. And you can have Sakya,
With, oh yeah, with
pure or with
with God.
knowledge,
Yeah.
like that. Vatsalya, pure or with knowledge, like that.
That was verse 193, isn't it?
Mm.
Mm.
So with Arjuna, it was, see, Arjuna's situation in this case was that he became, when he saw the Vishvarupa, he became aware of Krishna's great opulence.
So he got
And then he
knowledge.
became a bit fearful and everything, right? But this one with Rukmini, it's not really
Mm.
that she's become aware that he's God, but she's become aware that he might leave her.
Mm.
And that's what's making her fearful and everything. So it's a little bit of a different case
Mm.
that she's just fearful that her husband's going to leave her, rather than fearful that, oh, he's God and he's going to punish me or something.
Is that true that Rukmini, when she was young or something, she heard about Krishna? Is that the case? That
Yes, yeah.
and he's all power and everything. So I don't know what was explained, but she heard
True.
from
That's a good point you bring that up, because that is
that
the
is Gyan.
original reason why she got attracted to marrying Krishna, was that she heard in her father Bhishmaka's palace about all the Krishna's opulences, that he's, so beautiful and so knowledgeable and so wealthy and famous and detached. And so it's a fact, so, and definitely, as it's mentioned, that the devotees in Dwarka and Mathura have that Aishvarya Jnana Mishra. So, and she is a devotee in Dwarka. So definitely there will be some of that Aishvarya Jnana Mishra. So yeah, it looks like this is given an example of that Aishvarya Jnana Mishra.
Which Rukmini's one.
Yeah. Because like Narendra's saying, that's how she married Krishna in the first place, is that she had heard that from Narada Muni and other great sages that Krishna is the supreme, Bhagavan and everything, all powerful and famous like that. So through hearing about Krishna's opulences, she decided, I only want to marry Krishna and nobody else. So definitely she did have knowledge. She did definitely have knowledge of Krishna's opulences. So maybe that's why she was fearful that, oh, God's going to leave me. God's going to leave me. And she fell down like a banana tree. Yes, so that could be, an example of that Jnana Mishra bhakti happening.
But it's different, yeah.
But then that would apply to everybody actually.
And not to Yashoda Maya, or because they didn't think him as, at the start, they didn't think him as, they didn't know that he was God. So their relationship was more on reverence only. Or
Because I tell you what, if Krishna did this in Vrindavan, like Radharani would have got angry. She wouldn't have fell down like a banana tree. She would have got angry. Krishna,
Man.
she would have got angry, don't talk nonsense, just watch it, don't get smart, she would have
The man, no?
chastised him back, like that. Yeah, it's called man. And we read about that in the secondary relationships earlier. They talked about hasya ras and, these different secondary 7 ones that, and one of them is man, where the devotee gets angry. So like that, in Vrindavan, like that, if Krishna misbehaves, Mother Yashoda and Nanda wouldn't have been fearful. They would have got angry and chastised, like they would tie up Krishna. Mother Yashoda tied him up. So yeah, you could see that's without that awe and reverence. Whereas here, Rukmini is feeling that. That's why she's afraid that, Bhagavan is going to leave me. Bhagavan's going to leave me. And then she fell down. So yeah, this is an example of that Jnana Mishra.
But then in that pastime where Yashoda is looking into Krishna's mouth,
Hmm.
there's that split second of,
A
where
split
she's
second, yeah.
where
But that's
she's
all it was. And
yeah.
then she said straight after that, don't do it again. Don't do it again. She's getting angry at Krishna, like that, chastising Krishna. So yeah, so that didn't last long. There was a split
So
second of
then
fear
that's true,
that maybe he's more than just my son. And then when
but
Krishna saw
it's
that,
true because Rukmini is in Dwarka. She's not in Vrindavan.
yeah, so she definitely
Yeah,
has that
yeah,
jnana,
yeah.
Aishvarya.
Because then all those examples in Vrindavan, like Radharani or even Yashoda, they're all in Vrindavan. So that'll never happen then.
Yeah, it won't happen. Yeah.
Mm.
Yep, so that is an example of that Aishvarya Gyan. And then the next verse, it goes back to the Kevala. So this is where the Kevala comes in again.
Okay.
Kevala Rashuddha Prema Aishvarya Na Jane Aishvarya Dikilio Nija Sambandha Saimane.
In the stage of Kevala, unalloyed devotion, a devotee does not consider the unlimited opulence of Krishna. Even though he experiences it, he takes seriously only his own relationship with Krishna. Mm.
So what does that mean? That even if he experiences it. So like in Vrindavan, for example, they'll see that Krishna just kills Aghasura, kills, great demons, Dhenukasura and all these other demons. And, he lifts Govardhan Hill, but that he lifts the hill and then they don't think that he's God, So how could that be? So that what is it saying? He takes seriously only his relationship with Krishna. So, like for example, when Krishna lifted Govardhan, and then all the Brajbasis are also underneath the hill getting protection from the rain. And then Nanda Maharaj and other coward men, they held up sticks thinking that, well, Krishna may get, tired. Well, I have to help. So they are also thinking that they're the same as Krishna. And that was mentioned in a previous verse that
He says he forgets Lord's opulences, although he sees them. In the purport, it says,
yeah,
when a devotee reaches the stage of pure unalloyed devotion, especially in friendship with Krishna, he forgets the Lord's opulences, although he sees them, and he
yeah,
considers himself equal to Krishna. There's no
yeah,
question of comparing oneself to
yeah,
Krishna.
that's right.
Mm.
So they think they're equal to Krishna. So if we go back to 194, according to Kevala devotion, however, even though the devotee sees the unlimited potency of Krishna, he considers himself equal to him. So it's like that. So Krishna's lifting the mountain, and Nanda Maharaj says, feels that, oh, I better help him. So he's holding up a stick. And Nanda Maharaj is thinking that he's also holding up the mountain. Actually, Krishna's the only one doing anything. But Nanda and the other coward men are thinking, oh, I better help him out. He might get tired. I'll with my strength, I'll hold him up too. So they're thinking themselves equal to Krishna. So there's none of that awe and reverence there. So even though they're seeing it, they see he lifts it up, but they don't think, oh my God, he's God, he's lifting a mountain. They just think, oh, I better give him a hand. He needs my help. So he's doing something as well.
Yeah,
Again, Krishna's the Yoga Maya is arranging that. They can't see it. Although they see it, but they can't see it. You know what I'm saying? So they're seeing it, but they can't actually see what's really going on.
But they're so what's the word? I guess they're so bewildered by it, but they don't see it. Like, not bewildered is not the word, but it's like, there's a word for it where
it's like
happening right in front of you, but you can't recognize it, like.
I think it's their preference for love of Krishna is so much that they ignore
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah. Just the love in their heart is just so overwhelming that they
They
don't
don't,
care about who Krishna is.
yeah,
Yeah.
they don't want to break the relationship, so that they are stuck more. It's more powerful than whatever he does. So it's just over.
Yeah.
They over just.
Yeah, they don't care about his position. It's not important. Like it's mentioned sometimes he'll do something really out there, incredible, lifting the mountain or killing a demon, and that just the thought comes in their mind, maybe Krishna's not my son, maybe he's a demigod or something. And then that thought comes in their mind, maybe he's a demigod or something, and then they just leave that thought. They
That's
don't
right.
care about it. And they go back to, oh no, he's my son. Like that. They don't care. It doesn't matter like
They go back
that.
to relationship.
Yeah, it's just so the love is just so overwhelmingly important. And any idea of a position that the person has a position doesn't, you don't care about the position. Like your wife or your kids, do they care about what position you have in society? They don't care. They just care that you're my husband, you're my father, isn't it? Your family members, they don't care whether you're a vice president or a president or a secretary or a treasurer, or they don't give a stuff. They just, this is my husband, this is my father, isn't it?
Yeah,
They don't care what your position in society is.
yeah.
It's like that.
That's true. Yeah, that's an example actually. If you have if your friend has gone and become a big man, and then he's still same. I mean, and you go to him and they talk to each other like they used to. So it's like it doesn't matter what he has or what is not. It's the relationship was older than whatever he has got after that. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
And the guy is a president, the man is a president, but when he comes home to his wife, if she gets pissed off by some of his behavior, she's going to get on his case. And it doesn't matter that outside the room, he's the president and everyone bows down to him. But yeah, if he makes the wrong move at home, she's going to get angry with him. She doesn't care that he's the president. This is my husband, and he's misbehaved and I'm going to get on his case.
mm,
So you can just see that even in our relationships, that
that's
like
true.
between husband and wife and parents and kids or whatever, the position is not important. It's not important at
I
all.
I think the more time you have spent on a particular relationship, and then you
Hmm.
see something for 5 minutes, that's not going to change it too much, because if since birth or since they were young, you're going with them as a cowherd boy, you are more in that tune. And if you do something special for a moment or two, that's insignificant in the time you have spent with them, with him,
Hmm.
with a different relationship, with a different, as a friendship relationship.
Hmm.
So naturally you'll go with, okay, yeah, yeah, you've done it again, and let's move on. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Breaking up the way the world works. I mean, just
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
And this kind of knowledge about God, you're not going to find that anywhere else than the Vedas, right? In any other religion, it's only that God is great and powerful, and if you misbehave, He's going to punish you. But here we're hearing about things about God that just mind blowing. That how there's so much intimacy and sweetness can be in the relationship that we have with God, and this is very, very attractive. Very attractive. And this is so important. This knowledge can be given to the conditioned souls. And this, with this knowledge, so many more people can be attracted to having a loving relationship with God, because just having a fear-based relationship and awe and reverence is not very attractive. It's not
Mm,
very attractive. Certain people, they're less intelligent or whatever. They, that fear-based relationship is there, but it's not completely going to satisfy everyone. So this knowledge is so essential that people can see this side of God,
mm,
not just the greatness and the power and everything, but the very sweet, intimate relationships that one can have with God as well.
yeah.
So yeah, we're very fortunate to have access to this very personal insight into God.
Yeah, and yeah, it's very detailed. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of. I was thinking that I think I don't know how many classes back I said that I don't feel any love for Krishna or something, and you're laughing. So I was more like, it's like raw and reverence, basically in awe, understanding, Krishna so powerful, so created everything. So there might be one of the reason why you don't feel so much. You feel, he's on top and I'm bottom. I mean, it's just as he is. I mean, in quality wise, we cannot compare. And so
Yes.
there's some kind of a gap, as you said, gap in the sense. So you don't feel that kind of closeness, but as you learn more, I think it's getting to the point where you understand he's doing whatever he's doing for us. It's like it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. But at start it was like this, that you feel that God, he's created, he's not me, he's not close to me. He's so powerful, so he's created everything, and that kind of distance you create, and then all those
Yeah.
kind of. But slowly as you go and know things, probably you get closer, as you said. I mean, it'll happen
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah. So like I said, that knowledge is so important of his greatness in the beginning, just to initiate in us that desire to serve. That he's so great, we should do something for him. He's giving so much to us,
Mm.
then we should give something back. So once we initiate that, get that started, that God is so great, we're so small, we should do some service, be grateful for what he's doing for us. Then when we start doing service, then that intimacy will gradually come in more once we start that process of hearing each other. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
That's
Mm.
fantastic. I think I've taken your.
Yep, unfortunately our time's up as it
Yeah,
does happen.
you need to
Anyway,
go.
it's good to see this Teams is working out all right and no glitches.
Yeah,
So
it
that's
looks
good.
good.
That's
Yeah,
good news.
there's no issues at all, so it's good. All good.
Yeah.
I think we need more people come and see how it goes. Maybe Thursday class next week and see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
And have a good week.